Greed doesn't just cloud judgment. It wipes the hard drive clean and installs delusion as the new operating system. And trust me, the financial faceplants we're about to explore make buy high, sell low look like a sound investment strategy. 1. A man in China once tried to fake his own death to collect life insurance money from a policy his wife didn't even know existed. His plan: die, cash out, then move away and start fresh. The problem? He forgot to tell his wife it was fake. She found out about his death, went into despair, and killed herself and their 2 children. Suddenly, the con man wasn't just a scammer. He was a widower and a national disgrace. He turned himself in, sobbing that he didn't mean for it to go that far. Ah yes, the classic, "I only wanted to commit light fraud, not destroy my family" defense. Greed really is the only thing that makes faking your death sound like a practical career move. 2. In 2009, a woman in Florida bought a $14 million lottery ticket and buried it in her backyard. She said she didn't trust banks or safes, so she wrapped it in plastic and stuck it under a tree. 2 years later, she couldn't find it. Her reaction wasn't panic. It was to sue the state lottery for not helping her dig it up. Because apparently the same woman who didn't trust the entire banking system trusted her memory and a random patch of dirt. It's the kind of logic that makes you think people shouldn't win lotteries. They should have to pass a basic, "Can you handle $10 without losing it?" quiz first. 3. A pair of jewel thieves in Belgium once pulled off one of the largest diamond heists in history, only to get caught because one of them threw the evidence into a public trash can. In his rush to look normal, he tossed away incriminating receipts and security footage. The police literally found his DNA on a half-eaten sandwich next to a garbage bag full of diamond wrappers. Imagine pulling off a $100 million crime, then losing it all because you forgot how trash collection works. It's Ocean's 11 meets Oscar the Grouch. 4. Bernie Madoff scammed investors out of nearly $65 billion and somehow managed to convince Wall Street he was a genius instead of a glorified Excel spreadsheet. His strategy was literally make up numbers that look steady. For years, regulators looked at his returns and thought, "Wow, how consistent." Yes, because they were fictional. Madoff's success was basically a middle school math project that lasted 2 decades. The man didn't just erase logic. He vaporized it, put it in a trust, and paid dividends on delusion. 5. A couple in India tried to sue their son for not giving them grandchildren. Their argument, since they paid for his pilot training and wedding, they were entitled to offspring. They demanded $650,000 in damages for mental agony. So, yes, they literally tried to monetize their disappointment. Forget inheritance. This was emotional capitalism at its finest. Nothing says family love like turning biological reproduction into a debt collection notice. 6. In the early 2000s, a hedge fund tried to corner the cocoa market by buying up most of the world's chocolate supply, because apparently, world domination now comes in snack form. They stockpiled 240,000 tons of cocoa beans, expecting prices to skyrocket. But then consumers stopped buying chocolate. Turns out, people don't like $8 candy bars. The scheme collapsed, and the investors were left holding literal mountains of unsellable chocolate. The only thing richer than the irony was their impending bankruptcy. 7. A Florida man, because of course it's Florida, stole a construction crane to sell for scrap metal. He didn't have a plan for hiding it. He just drove it down the highway, slowly, in broad daylight. His logic: I figured no one would think someone would steal something this big. That's right, his stealth strategy was audacity. When police pulled him over, he reportedly said, "I was going to return it after I got paid." Bold, idiotic, inspiring in a please don't breed kind of way. 8. In the 1980s, an investment firm bought thousands of life insurance policies on elderly people, planning to collect when they died. The problem? They underestimated human stubbornness. Many of those seniors lived decades longer than expected, draining the company dry. Imagine the boardroom meeting. Our business model relies on mass death, and people keep living. That's not just bad math. That's the universe personally clowning you. 9. A New York landlord once decided to burn down his own building for insurance money, but forgot that he lived there too. He tried to argue it wasn't technically arson because he owned the property. The court disagreed, probably because "I was just trying to commit profitable property damage" isn't a legal defense. The cherry on top? The fire didn't even spread properly, leaving half the building intact and his name on every insurance form. Genius-level greed. Meet middle school-level planning. 10. A man in California once spent $200,000 hiring a psychic to help him find buried treasure that didn't exist. The psychic, in a rare act of honesty, later admitted she didn't technically find treasure, but did help him spiritually connect with it. That's lawyer speak for, "I took his money and made up vibes." He sued her for fraud but lost, because she'd never promised results. If you ever wondered how the ultra-rich lose their fortunes, it's usually one seance at a time. 11. A woman in Texas stole $1.2 million from her job and then used it to buy a lottery ticket. Shockingly, she didn't win. When questioned, she said she felt lucky. That's not luck. That's Darwinism with a debit card. You have to admire the optimism, though. She believed in her own bad decisions so much she tried to double down on them. That's not greed. That's delusional self-confidence rebranded as financial strategy. 12. In 2021, a group of NFT investors spent $3 million on a digital copy of a Dune art book, believing they now owned the rights to the entire franchise. They immediately announced plans to make their own movie. The internet politely explained that buying a JPEG of a book is not the same as owning the copyright. It was like buying a movie poster and thinking you now control Warner Brothers. Never has the phrase "all the gear, no idea" been so literal. 13. In 2013, a Canadian mayor tried to attract tourists by selling shares in his town's future gold mine, which didn't exist. He even buried a few shiny rocks for photo ops. Locals called him optimistic. The national government called it fraud. Honestly, it's hard to tell if he was scamming others or just passionately scamming himself. Sometimes greed and delusion form such a perfect marriage, you can't tell who's cheating on who. 14. A Wall Street banker once bought a $10,000 shower curtain, not because it was special, but because he wanted to feel successful. If your sense of achievement comes from water-resistant fabric, congratulations. You're living proof that capitalism causes brain fog. He defended it by saying, "It's Italian." Sure, so is pasta, but that doesn't mean you mortgage your house for it. 15. A British company once spent millions trying to genetically engineer glow-in-the-dark pigs, thinking it would somehow revolutionize marketing. What they actually created was a herd of radioactive bacon. Investors fled faster than the pigs glowed. It's the only business pitch in history where "we made them shine" became an emergency evacuation notice. 16. A man in Los Angeles bought a Lamborghini with a PPP loan meant to help small businesses survive the pandemic. His business? An online store that didn't exist. When caught, he told the judge it was technically a marketing expense. Right, because nothing says stimulating the economy, like flooring it past the unemployment line in a neon green Lambo. 17. Finally, a German millionaire decided to test how fast he could lose money by buying a ghost town and turning it into a luxury meditation retreat. He spent millions on spas, crystals, and imported sand for authentic desert energy. It went bankrupt in 6 months. His closing statement to reporters? "The universe took what it needed." No, my guy, capitalism took what it could. 18. There was a man in South Korea who spent his entire inheritance trying to sue a TV psychic for giving him bad financial advice. The psychic had told him to follow the path of water. He interpreted that as invest everything in bottled water stocks. They tanked, obviously. So he spent the rest of his fortune taking her to court over something she literally called a vibe. When the judge dismissed it, he shouted, "She ruined my life," which is rich because technically he paid her to do it. That's not a financial tragedy. It's performance art about natural selection. 19. An Italian mafia boss once bought a $300,000 racehorse and named it Winning Spirit. The horse never won a single race. Instead of selling it, he ordered his men to intimidate the other jockeys, because apparently nothing screams fair competition like a mob enforcer standing at the starting line. The horse was eventually confiscated by authorities and, poetic justice here, sold to pay off his own legal debts. Winning spirit, indeed. 20. A cryptocurrency influencer once convinced his followers to invest in a coin named after his dog. It was called Poodlecoin, and people threw in millions. The token crashed within 48 hours because the developer team was literally him and his cousin working from a living room. His explanation? We didn't expect success. That's the financial equivalent of setting your house on fire because you didn't expect heat. Somehow, he walked away richer, and people still followed him. Because nothing says financial guru like creating a Ponzi scheme in a hoodie. 21. In 1978, a man in Nevada buried a school bus full of silver coins in his backyard as a tax avoidance strategy. He was sure the government would never find it. Spoiler, they did. The FBI tracked him down after he tried to sell a bus-sized hole to his neighbor. They found millions buried under a tarp like it was pirate loot. The man went to prison, and the IRS got all the coins. So yes, he literally gave the government treasure and taxes. A 2-for-1 special in financial idiocy. 22. A CEO once bought a solid gold toilet for his private office because it inspired productivity. I guess there's nothing like relieving yourself on capitalism itself. He told reporters it was a symbol of success. Sure, so is bankruptcy court, which is where he ended up after his company collapsed under $40 million in debt. The toilet was later auctioned off to pay creditors, meaning people literally fought over used hubris. 23. A man in Las Vegas pawned his prosthetic leg for gambling money, and then won just enough to buy it back. He called it a symbolic cycle of fortune. The casino called it a guy who keeps showing up barefoot. You almost have to admire the commitment. Most gamblers lose their shirts. This man went straight for the limbs. 24. A reality TV star tried to monetize kindness by launching an app that charged users $4.99 a month to receive positive affirmations from her. Within weeks, she was accused of plagiarizing quotes from Pinterest. Her response? Good vibes belong to everyone. The app shut down, investors lost everything, and the internet gained one of the most ironic business slogans in history. Profit through positivity. It's capitalism wrapped in a yoga mat. 25. During the dot-com boom, a startup raised $12 million for a product called Pets.com. It sold pet food online. That's it. The company spent more on marketing, complete with a sock puppet mascot, than it ever made in sales. By the time it went bankrupt, the puppet was more famous than the CEO. To this day, economists use it as shorthand for financial stupidity. Imagine being outperformed by a stuffed animal with a better business plan. 26. A wealthy art collector once bought an invisible sculpture for $18,000. The artist claimed it existed in a vacuum of energy. The buyer proudly displayed the empty space in their living room. Months later, someone stole it. The police asked what was missing, and she said, "The nothing." There's no insurance form for that. When greed meets gullibility, even air becomes an investment. 27. A man in Detroit robbed a bank for $1 because he wanted to go to prison for free healthcare. He handed the teller a note that said, "Give me $1 and call the police." Honestly, it's one of the most cost-effective retirement plans ever devised. The system's broken, but you have to admit, this guy found the cheat code. 28. In the early 2000s, a woman faked being a psychic to con investors into building a portal to heaven. Her pitch? Once it's complete, God will reward us with infinite wealth. Investors poured in $3 million before realizing the portal was a shed with LED lights. When arrested, she said, "The real portal was the friends we made along the way." And suddenly, the police were the smartest people in the room. 29. A billionaire once spent $150,000 hiring consultants to teach him how to feel empathy so his employees wouldn't hate him. After the training, he fired half of them to streamline workplace energy. Nothing says personal growth like weaponized self-awareness. It's like paying someone to explain that fire burns, then immediately lighting a match. 30. There's a guy who won $10 million in the lottery and immediately spent it all starting a luxury lawn care company. He said, "Rich people want rich grass." Turns out they didn't. He lost everything within 2 years. His business plan was literally, what if landscapers, but bougie? Sometimes greed doesn't erase logic. It just replaces it with dumb confidence and a business degree from the University of Nowhere. 31. In Japan, a company president once embezzled millions to fund his obsession with rare insects. Not cars, not art, bugs. His mansion was filled with glass cases of exotic beetles, including one worth $90,000. When police arrested him, he said, "They're investments." Sure, Nothing says stable assets like creatures with a 3-month lifespan. 32. A Miami man bought 94,000 pounds of onions, thinking he could corner the market. Prices dropped overnight, and he was left with literal mountains of rottings. Onions. His attempt to create a monopoly ended in the world's saddest salad bar. Economists still talk about the Great Onion Crash as if it's a metaphor. It's not. It's just stupidity with a vegetable theme. 33. A billionaire tech founder once tried to build a personal utopia in the desert where money didn't matter. He called it the City of Logic. Within a year, it was bankrupt because, shockingly, you still have to pay for plumbing. Turns out, when rich people try to abolish capitalism, they just reinvent it with worse Wi-Fi. 34. And finally, a pastor in Zimbabwe claimed he could bless banknotes to make them multiply. His followers handed him their cash, expecting divine interest. He blessed it, pocketed it, and vanished. When police caught him months later, he said, "God told me to invest." The court disagreed. Turns out, even miracles have receipts. 35. A man in Arizona once tried to sell a plot of land on the moon to fund his retirement. He made laminated deeds and claimed ownership of lunar real estate under common cosmic law. When NASA ignored his emails, he sued them for trespassing. In court, he argued that the American flag on the moon counted as an unlawful structure. The judge dismissed the case, but the man proudly told reporters, "I still own the Sea of Tranquility," which is poetic, really, because there's no better place for your financial delusions than a literal vacuum. 36. In the 80s, a Wall Street trader famously spent $500,000 on a single lunch with Warren Buffett, convinced it would unlock the secrets of wealth. The only secret Buffett revealed was that money doesn't fix bad judgment. After the lunch, the trader's firm went bankrupt within a year. It's poetic symmetry. The man who tried to buy wisdom ended up getting an express seminar in humility. There's a reason the phrase "money can't buy class" exists. It was basically written for people who think enlightenment comes with a receipt. 37. A man in the UK legally changed his name to Captain Bitcoin, so investors would take him more seriously. Instead, his bank account was frozen for suspected fraud. He told the media he'd become a symbol of financial freedom, which is an inspiring way to describe a grown man in sunglasses shouting, "To the moon," at court clerks. The only currency he ended up with was the moral kind, and even that's probably overvalued. 38. In 2010, a billionaire tried to sue his ex-wife for stealing his youth. He demanded $2 million in emotional depreciation. The court didn't just throw out the case, it laughed it out. He argued that since he had invested in her emotional stock, she owed him dividends. The judge's actual response was, "Sir, people are not commodities." He left the courthouse looking like a man who just got shorted by karma itself. 39. A woman in Russia once tried to bribe a traffic cop with a lifetime supply of mayonnaise. She worked at a condiment factory and figured, who doesn't love free mayo? The cop declined, arrested her for bribery, and reportedly said, "I'm more of a mustard guy." Somewhere in that moment, capitalism just sighed and gave up. 40. In Las Vegas, a casino high roller once tipped a waiter with a car, then tried to get it back 2 hours later because he lost big at the tables. He actually reported the waiter for theft. The hotel sided with the waiter. The gambler's response? He left a bad Yelp review saying, "Staff not understanding of financial hardship." It's the first time Yelp had to create a tag for self-inflicted tragedy. 41. An influencer couple in Dubai bought a lion cub to boost engagement. They named it Gucci. When it grew up, as lions tend to do, they panicked and tried to return it to the pet store. Authorities confiscated it, and they tearfully claimed on Instagram that they were the real victims. Nothing quite sums up modern greed like crying about losing your content prop because it developed claws. 42. A man in New York ran a pyramid scheme based entirely on selling pyramid-shaped paperweights. He called it metaphysical symmetry. Investors loved the pitch until they realized they were literally buying geometry. When it collapsed, he went on TV claiming, "People just didn't understand the art." It's the only time in history someone accidentally invented irony as a business model. 43. A self-proclaimed money coach in Los Angeles charged people $300 an hour to teach them how to manifest abundance. She was later exposed for living out of her car. Her defense? "I manifested minimalism." It's almost admirable. A full-circle scam so perfect it became a philosophy. Somewhere, the ghost of Bernie Madoff is slow clapping. 44. A German investor bought a theme park ride from a bankrupt fairground and installed it in his backyard as a networking tool. When asked why, he said, "It's hard to say no to a man on a roller coaster." He was later sued by neighbors for emotional distress caused by constant screaming. Honestly, that's the most literal example of ups and downs in business history. 45. A man in Japan faked a wedding just to collect cash gifts from guests, then disappeared. He used a stock photo model as his bride and claimed she was camera shy. Police caught him after a guest spotted the same woman on an ad for yogurt. When greed reaches that level of creativity, you almost don't know whether to be angry or impressed. 46. A tech startup once tried to sell bottled air from the Alps to stressed-out city dwellers. It actually worked for a while. They sold thousands of cans at $32 each before customers realized air has no expiration date. The company went under, proving once again that if you sell nothing confidently enough, someone will still buy it. It's capitalism's purest art form. Premium oxygen for people already gasping for cents. 47. In the 1990s, a woman in Florida stole a neighbor's winning $5 million lottery ticket, cashed it in, and bought 3 houses. She might have gotten away with it if she hadn't moved next door to the guy she stole from. He recognized her instantly and called the cops. It's the rare case where karma didn't need to travel far, just one driveway over. 48. A startup founder spent $2 million developing an app that sent users inspirational quotes, one word at a time. The idea was that slowing down communication increases mindfulness. Investors pulled out after realizing the app took 6 hours to deliver a sentence. When your product's main feature is irritation, you're not an innovator. You're a glorified spam folder. 49. A Russian oligarch once bought an entire Greek island for his girlfriend, then dumped her a week later. She refused to leave, claiming squatters' rights. The island is now locked in legal limbo, uninhabited except for one stubborn ex who occasionally posts selfies captioned "still richer than you." And honestly, in a way, she's right. 50. During the NFT boom, someone spent $500,000 on a virtual yacht in the metaverse, a boat that doesn't float in an ocean that doesn't exist. When the market crashed, he said, "It's still a symbol of luxury." Right, because nothing says opulence like pretending to drown in imaginary water. It's the Titanic of stupidity. And this time, everyone bought tickets. 51. And finally, the crown jewel of greed eats logic. A man in England robbed a bank, fled with $25,000 and deposited it into his own bank account under his real name. He then used his debit card to buy a Rolex to celebrate. He was arrested within hours. When questioned, he said, "I didn't think they'd check." That's it. That's the perfect ending. The human brain, overloaded by greed, simply unplugs itself. Logic isn't dead. It just quit out of sheer embarrassment. Hit like if your wallet's still intact, subscribe if you enjoy secondhand embarrassment. And remember, the next disaster might just be profitable.